tell me, first of all, tell me when you thought about applying for Social Security and...
Well, when I turned 62 and found out that I was eligible. That seemed to do it, although I had no plan to retire or stop doing what I was doing. I was working at the time and planned to continue doing that, but it was the opportunity to start some supplementary income from a system that I'd been paying into since I was 16 years old. So that was it. I had my 62nd birthday, found out I could, apply for Social Security, and did so. So.
Where were you living at the time? Do you recall? I know this is dredging up.
62. Where was I at age 62? That's a good question. 1945 plus 62, what year would that have been? 2007?
Mm-hmm.
8?
Yeah.
Just before we decided to go to school, go to Laos and open a school in the north. I had finished a previous job and was ready to go to Laos and do our volunteer thing with opening a school. And it seemed like a good idea to maybe have a little supplementary income since I wasn't working. And yeah, so that was pretty much it.
And so once you started collecting your retirement distributions from the government, you then went back to work.
Yeah, and
for no pay. No pay.
For no pay. Well, we did make some money, but I don't recall spending the Social Security money. It arrived, and I banked it, every month. Did not necessarily use it. We had other sources of income. So yeah.
And then, how long were you operating the school?
5 years.
And then what happened?
The school closed because the landlord, well, our 5-year lease on the property we were using came to an end, and the landlord and his family decided that maybe the property could be better utilized with a different customer. So they decided to rent the school to a Chinese manufacturer who manufactured something or other up there. I don't know, brooms or something. But it was really a very big facility. We had elementary and secondary classrooms, apartments for the teachers that worked for us and lived there. Had a kitchen, computer lab, dining hall for the kids, offices. Yeah, it was a big place, and had been used before for some kind of manufacturing activity. I don't remember what it was, but in Udomsai, the north of Laos, very close to China, with lots of Chinese immigration and investment, that was a legitimate decision to make. We had a very special deal with the guy to rent the property for 5 years, and at the end of that time he decided that it wasn't what he wanted. Although during our time there he had sent his kids to us, to the school to be educated.
So then the school closes.
School closes. We leave Udomsai and return to Vientiane, and my wife decided to stay in Laos and live and work in the city where she was born. And I decided, since we'd spent in 5 years considerable savings at the school, I decided to go back to the Middle East for a year and did that. And that was my last job, which ended in 2014. Now I have been living off Social Security each month and living in the house that we have in Columbia, Missouri. And my wife teaching and living in Vientiane.
Do that?
Well, we own the house. Living overseas, working overseas as we did for many years, and having the opportunity to earn money that was tax-free, enabling us to save a lot, let us, we've had 2 houses in our lives and paid cash for them both. So we've never really had a housing expense as such. mortgage very briefly just to establish credit, but paid off quickly. And yeah, so our resources, the resources that are left, have been used for food and utilities, and no matter where we've been for that. And it's the same for me in Thailand and living there, where food and utilities and even housing with that cost a fraction, a tiny fraction of what it would in the United States.
And your expenses here in the United States are a fraction of what I pay.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, just describe how you can manage to live on a small Social Security check every month.
Well, because
how can you do that?
Well, because Columbia is, you know, here we are in this middle of the Midwest, where expenses are low. You know, everything, housing, food, utilities, all of it here in Columbia is quite reasonable. Even this house, which is has been appraised at roughly $126,000, would be, you know, wouldn't have to go very far away to find the same house costing 2 or 3 times as much. So expenses here are low, and that's how. I have not. I do dip into savings some when I have you know, major expenses like the travel out to Asia, other odds and ends, but then I don't necessarily spend the Social Security money. It banks, and then I replace the money I've spent. Bills, which can be high here, especially in this house. We have radiant heat, which is electric heat, which is the most expensive thing to do here. So there's that, and yeah, utilities are expensive here in the winter.
What kind of
And then AC in the summer.
oh yeah, yes indeed. But what kind of advice would you give somebody in their 40s to looking at or in their 50s, let's say, looking at the void of retirement?
Well, I hope somewhere along the way you were able to save some money. I mean, that's an important decision to make. When you're young, it doesn't seem like such a great idea, but that's the time to do it. Even on a modest basis, you know, every month, pay yourself. Try, if you can, to live beneath your means, and save the money that you're not spending, because it's going to come in real handy later.
Sort of those messages from mom and dad coming home to roost?
Oh, sure, yeah. Save, save, save. Live beneath your means, save. That's it. And it's something that we're not really programmed to do. We don't, you know, we're programmed to consume and spend. And I've done some of that, looking back, more than I would have liked, but not as much as some.
Just out of curiosity, I know we've talked about this before, but where did you learn, or how did you learn to invest your money?
Well, I had the good fortune to have an overseas job with you in Saudi Arabia, with the Northrop Corporation, and found myself in a group of people working in training who were all making money and wondering what to do with it. And we didn't have to spend it, so here was almost forced savings is what it was. And so just talking about that and learning about it from other people. I mean, I came to that experience, and in all of my previous life didn't know anything more than putting money in a bank account or putting money in a CD. That's all I knew. And all of a sudden out there was a wealth of information and a wealth of, I mean, from people and from other sources about, you know, mutual funds and savings and retirement and IRAs and this, that, and the other. And little by little, we just, you know, started doing that and learning a lot. And so I've been saving and investing my whole life. I mean, initially not so well with my paper route money, going to the Building and Loan Association in Vandalia in a CD, But in later years, you know, investing in the stock market, and everybody's said it over and over and over again, that the best way to accumulate dough is to invest in companies over time, and that's pretty much what I've tried to do. Not always well, and making a lot of the mistakes that people make, going with the herd, for example, and doing what everybody else is doing because that makes you feel good. Yeah, but that's been all the difference, being able to save money. I've worked on and off my whole adult life. Work a few years, take a little time off, work a few more years, take a little time off. We've been lucky enough to do volunteer things over the years, mixed in with the money things, alternating with the money things. And so it's been a strange, it's been a very strange lifestyle and strange experience, but I think one that I was comfortable with, because, you know, we've also talked about growing up in the 60s, going to school, college and high school in the 60s, a lot of things going on in the States, people wanting to do alternative things, and so I was in that frame of mind already, and just didn't fall into the normal pattern of going to work somewhere and staying there for 30 or 40 years. Never even considered doing that. I considered doing what I wanted to do when I wanted to do it,
And that was it.
and do this for a while. Oh yeah, let's try something else and do. Mostly teaching. I've been a teacher all my life, but in different places doing different things and teaching different things and different people, and it's been really a great ride. I've loved pretty much every minute of it.
Cool. I'm just going to cut it off here, and,
Okay,
and thank
well.
you so much for your time and your thoughts, and
And
that's
your hot air.